I don't think that people around us can hear us. What do we do when immigrant and refugee communities are under attack? What do we do when our communities are under attack?
Bureaucrats, administrators, and simple job takers are often the ones driving the wheels of evil.
It will be, and it's not up to Trump. It's up to us. In places like the Northwest Detention Center with adults. But where were you when people from prison were being sent there? Where were you when they were telling us we're only taking the criminals? Where were you when people have died again and again and again just because of ICE exists? Think about
closer.
Just to show you what
Just
I mean.
stand in front of that
Because
side of
somewhere
the
down the line,
so I
people
don't have
just
to fly
accept
out of
what's
here
going
and
on
pop
as normal.
Thank
I
you.
see kids
Yep.
crying because they wanted to see their dads. And I couldn't console them because I had 500 or 600 other kids to take care of. I couldn't let them see their fathers because that was against the rules. I might not like the rules, but what was I going to do? Walk away? What difference would that make to anyone's life but mine? I simply stopped caring. It may be a dangerous thing to do to stop caring, but once I did it, I felt so much better. I say one thing. Brothers and sisters, hear me now. We must never stop caring. There will be more life to live. If we do not believe that we are the creators of hope, that we are the creators of change. So please move forward with that in mind. That no matter what, you have hope in your heart. Because without hope, we have nothing. You are the change. Thank you.
Buenas tardes. Can you hear in the back? Raise your hand in the back. Okay, a little bit. I want to try to be loud. My name is Mar Mora Villalpando. I'm part of La Resistencia. How many of you were at the detention center in 2014 where 1,200 people went on hunger strike? Raise your hand. Almost nobody. Where were you when in November of 2018 at the detention center, Amar Mercanzana died? Raise your hand. Almost nobody. Where are you going to be when 2020 comes and hopefully Trump is nowhere to be seen? Where are you going to be? Because this is not a Trump problem. Make it really clear this is not a Trump problem. This is not a private prison problem. And another thing, this is not an America problem because America is a continent. This is the United States. This is a United States problem. From the inception of this country, this is the problem that has existed, taking over other people's land, making people go into other places as far away as possible, racializing policies and economics. This is your country and it has been and it will be, and it's not up to Trump. It's up to us. This is not only about children. This is not only about children. What they're doing to children now started in places like the Northwest Detention Center with adults. But where were you when people from prison were being sent there? Where were you when they were telling us we're only taking the criminals? Where were you when people have died again and again and again just because of ICE exists? Think about it, because this is not to make you feel good about yourselves. This is about people that continue dying in every single detention center and across our borders. And this is not for you to be observers. This is not for you. This is for them. This is for us. This is because we want this fucking place shut down as this year. And this place, this private building is the epicenter of all detentions and deportations on this state. This is where I come for my court, and this is where I see entire families in deportation proceedings. And in Tacoma is the place where thousands of people are treated like nothing but garbage. They're given nothing but garbage to eat. So this is not about you. This is about people of color, low income, immigrants, that we will continue rising. We will continue fighting. You don't have a decision to make.
First and foremost, tukashila wakantanka. Lemie wakia wanaton. Ampetukile wopila. Ampetukile wowashtuyoha. Tukashila wakantanka. Nana tuwamash makoche awawi chakiayo. Tuwamash oyatiki awawi chakiayo. Tukashila wakantanka. Nana hokshila na wichinchila. Takoja na wakaihaja ki awawi chakia yo tukashila. Amataki epiki tukashila o wichakia yo. O wichakia yo. Onshia yo tukashila. Good evening. My English name is Matt Remley. My Lakota name is Wakia Wanatan. I'm from Standing Rock, but live here in Seattle. And first and foremost, want to give acknowledgement to our Duwamish host relatives. And I want to send a reminder to all those carrying these bigoted attitudes and remind them just 150 years ago when they tried to settle on these lands out here in West Seattle, they couldn't survive. They weren't surviving. And it was a generosity of a man named Chief Seattle, Chief Sealth, and the Duwamish peoples who went over there and brought them on this side of the water to teach them how to live. I want people to remember that. That's what they did for their ancestors. I want them to remember in November when they're celebrating that day called Thanksgiving, those pilgrims couldn't survive. And it was a generosity of a man named Squanto, who was a formerly enslaved person actually taken to Europe and made his way back on the ships to his homelands, only to find that every single member of his tribe had been wiped out due to disease or being killed. But despite that, he still had compassion in his heart, and he showed the people how to live off that land. That's who we are supposed to be. That's who we are meant to be. And that's who we're going to continue to be. Before we share a song here, let's give it up for our organizers right here. Make some noise for them. So you see, make some more noise. You gotta read it first. The last thing I'm gonna say before we share a song, and I offer this up to my sister here to share a couple of words, is that no matter what they throw at us, no matter what this government does, it doesn't matter. Because no policy, no politic, no government, no institution can stop prayer. They cannot stop prayer, and they cannot stop prophecy. See, those of us in the Native communities, we understand that those are our relatives coming back to rejoin with us. If you don't know what I mean, you need to go look up the Eagle and Condor prophecy, something we've been reviving for the past couple of decades. You can't stop that. We're going to have trials and tribulations, but our relatives, we will be reunited again. The Eagle and Condor will be reunited again. So my sister here is going to share a couple of words and we'll offer up a song for everybody. Amatakwasa.
Duwamish territory. My name is Roxanne White, and I'm Yakima Nennis First, and I presently reside here on Duwamish territory. My hands are also up to the Duwamish people. I just wanted to share really quickly how emotional this has been to watch on the news and the media and hear about the families and to hear about the children and to see the children and to know that they're being harmed and that they're not being treated well and that these families are being separated. And it reminds me of the boarding schools. It reminds me of the kill the Indian, save the man era for my people, for our ancestors. It reminds me of what my grandmother had to go through and her children and so forth. And so what I wanted to say was, as a grandmother, as a mother, I want us to remember those families. We're also talking about the borders, but we're also talking about lives. We're talking about babies. We're talking about mothers and fathers. I still can't get out of my head the idea of the father with his little baby girl, 23-month-old, on his back. That was a hard thing to see over and over again. And I wanted to do a little ceremony that we do when we say their names, we're remembering them, because we can't forget. We can't forget, and we can't let it go unnoticed.
No.
Because the minute we let it go unnoticed, they continue, and it doesn't stop. So I'm going to ask all of you to please say their names with me. Her father's name was Oscar Ramirez. And I'm going to, hold on, when I say Oscar Ramirez, you guys say it after. I'm going to say his name, and you're going to say Oscar Ramirez. Say his name, and you're going to say that. And then I'm going to say the 23-month-old's name. Okay. Oscar Ramirez. Say his name. 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 Oscar Ramirez. Angie Valero. Say her name. 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 Angie Valero. Thank you so much. Because it means a lot. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the people that this affected in the family. Keep them in prayers. And with that,
You got a list of all the people that have died from illegals? Right. You know, they failed to mention that their failed democratic policies is what killed people trying to cross the legal.
Yeah. You like that?
Love it.
Other side.
It confuses everybody.
Other side, dude.
Marched, rallied, protested, and engaged in non-violent civil disobedience since Trump took office. Let's remember that it was the direct action taken by ordinary people at the airports that defeated Trump's first attempted Muslim travel ban.
children, and the workers at Wayfair said, not at all. Our labor will not be used to carry out misery on our immigrant sisters and brothers. Our movement also includes tech workers throughout the nation, including workers at Amazon, who are standing with the immigrant community via the No Tech for ICE movement, demanding Amazon and other tech corporations cut ties from ICE. In Seattle and in Washington State, we are building our grassroots movement to demand shut down the camps, end the detentions and deportations, full legalization and citizenship rights for all immigrant workers. We are also demanding an immediate ban on private for-profit immigration detention centers. Shut down the purveyor of evil, Geo Corporation. Illinois recently became the first state to ban private detention centers. What do you We are also demanding that the Seattle Mayor and City Council end the collaboration of the Seattle Police Department with Homeland Security investigations. Dear fellow activists, we need more actions like today's, not only to free immigrants from detention, but also to make our cities real sanctuary cities. Real sanctuary cities. That means not allowing Seattle to become a playground for the rich, and it means fighting for bold public policy to make Seattle affordable for all, regardless of income. We need universal rent control free of corporate loopholes. We need a massive expansion of quality, affordable social housing funded by taxing big businesses like Amazon. To win any of these demands, we will need movements that are independent of politicians tied to big business, and movements that unite all working people across race, national origin, language, and gender. And I am so looking forward to building that movement to you all. Will you do a chant with me? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Solidarity.
So that chant, stand up, fight back. I don't understand it. If the Democrats are so wanting to give up their arms,
My
why are they
name
going to
is
fight?
Nikita Yurimenkin. I am one of the two organizers of this action. I believe that thanks are in order. To Ava Sharifi, wherever she might be, my co-organizer whose dedication and grit has brought us all here together. To Howard Gale, whose wisdom and guidance I could not do without. To Gianna for her extraordinary commitment and hard work. To Katie for her smarts and enthusiasm. And to all the organizations.
Communism will not set hold in our nation. You will lose your seat on the council.
I wanted to extend a special thank you to Never Again Action and to the Seattle DSA, of which I am a proud member. I value the work that we've all put in to make this event reality, for it is common purpose that brings us here today. Most important of all, to the people of this city who are here today because they believe in a different world from the one that we find ourselves in. A decent world that provides a way of life free and beautiful, that shelters the desperate, feeds the unfed, and clothes the unclothed. Perhaps someday when that world has been realized, men like me and people like us will not have to fight, and I will not have to stand before you. But that is not the world that we live in. We live in an age of great injustice and even greater apathy. A machine world with a machine mind and a machine heart that tortures and destroys innocent men, women, and children. People who brave ocean, desert, and wilderness to escape from its grasp, to begin a new life, only to arrive at its epicenter, only to begin their new life at its end. And every day that we watch them die, we resign ourselves to our fate. In the face of the machine's overwhelming clamor, we have pulled down our blinds, we have shut ourselves in. And those that we trust, our legislators and our leaders in Washington, have abdicated their power. They have given in and given up. On the 32nd floor of that building, tucked around the corner is a small office dedicated to serving the senator's constituents, dedicated to serving us. The Social Security Department that shares the same floor, along with other offices whose only distinguishing feature is the presence of a door. But the senator's office is most days empty. The Social Security Department bustles with old folk, young folk, black folk, white folk, with people. Take a number, wait in line, wrong line, but on most days the senator's office is empty. Past reception and the two receptionists who strain behind taut smiles are empty cubicles and empty desks and empty offices. And one of those offices belongs to the senator. And every day that I worked there, I was answering your phone calls. Some of you cried, some of you yelled, some of you praised the senator, some condemned her, but it didn't matter because I would pass it along to the senator, and the senator hasn't issued a statement on that yet, and on most days the senator's office is empty. And every day that I worked there, this nation and my people were subjected to another small crisis. And we called our representatives and we formed our coalitions and we went to the senator's office and we walked past the taut smiles and the empty desks and the empty cubicles and we begged the senator, please turn off the machine because the noise has become too great, but the senator's office was empty. And every day, I will admit, I dreamed of sitting in the senator's seat. I dreamed of having the power to make this right. I dreamed of the newspaper headline that I would have framed on my desk. The senator endorses amnesty. The senator travels to the border. The senator condemns the camps. But on her desk, the framed headline says something about tax breaks for Boeing. Machine grows louder and louder until the blinds don't cut it and our homes start to shake, and then the final injustice arrives and we can no longer place our destiny in the hands of those who seek to maintain the status quo. And there comes a time when we can't bear it any longer, when the weight of cruelty, of human misery, of all of those who have been murdered by this terrible system makes us too sick at heart. Makes us realize that this is not the natural state of things, because it is injustice when children die, it is injustice when families are torn apart, and it is injustice when we stay silent. We can be justice. And the shadow we cast when we stand tall, when we stand in unison, years from the hot sun. In this endeavor, we must remain resolute. We must remain uncompromising, because if things don't change, if the machine is allowed to continue its function, then all will be lost and we will be driven to ruin. The grinding of its gears, of its apparatus, has already stolen so much from us. So much has been lost. Their names were Jacqueline Colmaquin, Felipe Alonso Gomez, and Maria Juarez. They were 7, 8, and 1 years old, too young to even comprehend the things that were inflicted upon them. And there are many others like them, and God forbid there will be many more. But for those of you who can hear me, I say this, that there is good in all of us, a profound innate humanity that is crying out, yearning for freedom. Do not deny it any longer. Fight now. Fight for your fellow man. Fight for your neighbor. Fight for your friends, for your relatives, for yourselves. Fight for the voice inside of you that you can't quiet. Fight to the drubbing of your heavy hearts. Fight for those who can't fight anymore, whose tiny bodies we burned at the altar of business as usual. Across borders and barriers and everything in this world that divides us. And arm in arm, hand in hand, let us run towards a better world, a kinder world that embraces all of God's children with an open arm. The machine would have us believe that this is not possible, would have us believe that the suffering of millions is a necessity. And the bile that it produces has poisoned men's souls, has turned them wicked, uncaring, and unkind, has blinded them with hatred and paralyzed them with fear. It is our duty to dismantle it. And though our path may be arduous, and though the road may be long, I know that we can walk together. On my parents who came here as refugees, and on my people who were once strangers in the land of Egypt, you all have my word that I will stand with you and I will fight for you.
I'm an undocumented immigrant from Mexico. I remember being a 7-year-old boy. I remember being in the back of a stranger's car. I remember trying to distract my 2-year-old brother so he wouldn't cry, because I knew that if he cried or he drew attention to us, the Border Patrol agents in front of us would pay closer attention and realize that the documents that we had were not ours and that we didn't have the proper documentation to enter into the country. Eventually, though, the agents did let us through, and we found ourselves on our way to Las Vegas to be reunited with our dad, who had been forced to migrate a couple of years before us. Meanwhile, my mom was in the middle of her own, more dangerous journey into the country. We weren't sure when she would join us, but we knew and we hoped that she would join us at some point. And throughout this whole time, my 2-year-old brother would never stop crying. He would cry whenever I left him, whenever I wasn't around him. He would constantly ask for our mom and our grandparents. He would even cry when left alone with my dad because he didn't recognize him. After all, my dad had left Mexico and had been forced to leave us behind when my brother was barely a couple months old. Our mom did eventually join us, and we moved here to Washington State, where I grew up. And as Michael said, this is nothing new. I grew up in the time of the George W. Bush raids. I remember my parents' morning routine. I remember that it consisted of waking up at the crack of dawn to go and pick the fields, but also to make their lunch and listen to the radio. To listen to the radio and see if there were reports that day of a raid taking place in our community, in our hometown. Because they knew that if there were reports on the radio, they would then have to take a different route to work and avoid the places in our town where ICE had been spotted. After all, they couldn't afford to take a day off of work. and if nothing was heard, if nothing was reported on the radio, we could carry on with our lives for another day, another day of living in fear of the unexpected. And then things became less visible as Obama became president and came into power. There were powerful and documented youth organizers who took over congressional offices, who shut down his 2012 re-election campaign offices, and held him accountable for the 3 million people that he deported and ripped apart from our communities. That's what
Obama is talking about?
And they forced him to take action and to implement the DACA program, and with them came privileges that many of us never thought would be available to us. And so the broader community paid no attention as Obama continued to build the deportation machine that Trump has unleashed on our communities. We live in a country in which a single tweet threatening mass deportation and mass raids can send our community into panic. In a country that's murdering Central American migrants who are only fighting for a chance to survive and the chance to be able to provide for their families. In a country in which migrants that have already faced terrible abuse in their journeys throughout Mexico are then further traumatized when they reach our southern border seeking refuge. And this is not what should be done on our name with our taxpayer money. We live in a country in which we're being stripped of our sense of belonging and safety on a daily basis. A country in which ICE agents are getting more violent, are getting more bold, are quite literally breaking across car windows to rip and kidnap our parents from our undocumented families. Agents that work here should be ashamed of that. They should be ashamed of themselves. And our legislators and our members of Congress are enabling this mental and physical abuse of our communities. They're enabling it when they hand ICE and CBP a blank check in the billions of dollars to fund the terror that our communities are experiencing. Zero oversight measures over these private detention centers that hold our community members in conditions that we know are not safe and that are inhumane. When we know that the people being held inside of them have no access even to clean water. When those being held captive complain about being covered in sores. When they're exploited for their labor and are being forced to work all day for $1 pay. When they're held in solitary confinement, when they're threatened by officers and suffer from sexual assault at the hands of agents that have never faced any consequence for their actions. When children continue to die under ICE and CBP custody. And that's why we're here. Is that why you're all here? But we're also here to remind state legislators that there's a lot more they could be doing beyond issuing meaningless, empty statements condemning Trump, and claiming that they do support communities and that they do welcome immigrants here. And one of the things that they can do is put an end to the horrible abuses taking place down in Tacoma and the Northwest Detention Center. Center. And we know that there's no humane way to detain and cage people, but the detention centers that profit off of the imprisonment of our community members, off of our suffering, should have no place in a so-called welcoming state. We cannot allow people to continue to profit off of the caging of black and brown baddies. And so I ask you, are you willing to stand up for me? For parents? For the community seeking refuge? For your neighbors living in fear? I ask you, what do we do when immigrant and refugee communities are under attack? I don't think the people around us can hear
Educação subir lampião. Educação subir lampião. Educação subir lampião. Educação subir lampião. Hello, up down.